Welcome back. Hello again from Clear Skies Retirement and Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. My name is Randy Cook. Each week, Jay and I sit down here and talk through some money issues, talk through some retirement issues, talk through some of the issues that you might be worried about and wondering about when it comes to you finally pulling the trigger on your retirement. And that's where Jay can certainly help. Jay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Randy. How have you been, bud?
I'm good. I'm working. My first story here is about gift cards after Christmas. I got 3 of them that are burning a hole in my pocket right now.
I just discovered some the other day from like years ago when I was cleaning up somewhere. I was like, I never used these ones.
Oh, you are the topic of our conversation.
I'm one of those.
You're one of those. Okay, here we go. Yeah, if you got some gift cards for Christmas, make sure you spend them. There is an estimated $23 billion in unused gift cards floating around out there. Some of them at Jay's house. Yeah, because you can go on the website and you can find out, this one's got $1.43 on it. Yeah, you just put a piece of tape on there. It's more.
Well, that's why the companies love them so much, right?
I know it because we don't spend it. It's so true. Of that $23 billion that is unspent out there, $1 billion of it alone is at Starbucks because Starbucks cards are so easy to give. Now, those cards represent what I would refer to as dead money. The companies have got to keep that in an account someplace. They know that, but by gosh, they love that where they've got all that unspent money out there. But in many ways, for you, in your wallet, in your drawer, someplace, it's dead money. Now, when people come into you and sit down for an appointment, you're going to make an evaluation of what they've been doing for retirement, their investments, whatever they have, 401k, whatever they have. And there's probably going to be some places in there where you say, this is not doing anything for you. This is dead money. Where do you usually find it?
It's funny we're talking about this topic because this is usually the time of year, start of the year, people think about finances, that this conversation comes up the most, and we have people bringing in their accounts or their 401ks. And this is the real problem behind that, right? Is that there has never been a plan or a strategy put in place for this money. It's just been accumulating. Every conversation we have with investable assets before they come here, if it's a 401k, if it's other accounts that other firms we're looking at, we'll say, hey, what's the strategy for this account? And usually, you know what we hear after that?
I don't know.
Crickets. Exactly right. Is it just like, what? Well, I don't know. It was just this way. And so I've just kind of left it go. And I get it. You get busy. Life comes up. This isn't your strong suit. It's not your specialty. So you just kind of like put it aside and create some money. But you've got to look at losses in a couple of different ways. Not just losses you can have from investments, because you can have losses in investments. You can, right? But it's also the opportunity cost that you've missed out on along the way. We see people still come in, and this blows my mind, that have money in CDs, and CDs are paying something now at least, but they haven't for the last 15 years, right? CDs, money markets, savings accounts. And it's been there you know when it's been there since? Since 2008.
2007, yeah, I bet I knew it.
Since 2008.
Yep.
And it's, hey, I lost a lot of money in 2008. I just put it into a savings. I put it into a CD. I put it into whatever it is. And I've just never done anything else with it. I was scared to get back into the markets. And then when I kind of got the courage to do it, I didn't know how to invest it. So I just haven't done anything.
Right.
The opportunity cost that has been lost with that money, I mean, it's probably 100%.
Yeah.
Right? You've probably missed out on doubling your money because of that. So like, now are you getting 4% in some money markets? Yeah, but for a long time you were getting 1/100% in there, right? You shouldn't be out there investing like crazy, hair on fire. I could lose my money tomorrow. Like, I'm not advocating for that at all, right? But you are still experiencing losses in a way by doing nothing, if that makes sense.
Well, one of the things that people come in with that they want you to evaluate is their 401k. So let's talk about that just a little bit, because people will probably pick 3 or 4 different things where they have their money in. One will probably be an index fund that's kind of market related that will just kind of follow the market. Another might be a bond fund that is supposed to, buffer against that other account going down. And then many people will pick a target date fund. It's kind of an automated kind of thing that's supposed to do everything for you. When you look at 401ks, would you say there are better places for your money than a target date fund or a bond fund? Or would you consider dead money inside a 401k?
The most common answer we hear for what is this strategy? How did you get to this point, right? Usually there isn't an answer. Just like, I don't know, I just kind of put a bit here, put a bit there, right? The second most common answer is, well, I looked at the return from last year and this was the highest, so I put it there.
Okay.
Right? So, I mean, I guess if I didn't know what else to do, I'd probably do the same thing. But that's probably not the best strategy, right? Right, to be using. So there's that side of it, is there isn't a plan for it. This is part two to that. We talk about this a lot on the show as well. A 401k is a great tool for accumulating wealth while you're working, right? So not all, but a lot of 401ks will have a match. So I mean, that makes perfect sense. Like it's free money, right? Get your match. And then, you're younger, invest it aggressively. You're 30, you're 40, you're 45 maybe even. Yeah, invest it aggressively and you can put it all in the S&P or put it all in growth. Well, once you're 55 or 60, things are about to change. When you retire, you're going from accumulating and growing that wealth to, yeah, I want to grow it, but I also can't risk it too much. I need a bit of income from this. I also need liquidity. There's a lot more going on.
Yeah.
And most 401ks that we see come through, you've got 8, 9 options maybe. Sometimes people get confused because it's like, oh, I've got 20 options. I was like, well, man, half of those options are target date funds,
right?
Which is just a mixture of the other stuff you've got in there, right? So, you're not getting extra diversification. You're probably at the point where you should think about, do I need more options than what I'm restricted to in this 401k?
And so what we're talking about here is rolling money into your own IRA from your 401k, and then you have more options and the world is your oyster and you have thousands of opportunities out there instead of just 20.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Is the IRAs we open for clients, they've got, it's thousands, I don't know how many multiple thousands of options. It's basically anything you could want to invest in, you're pretty much going to be able to invest in there. And I would say as you're making that transition or preparing from going from work life into retirement life, you should have a serious, kind of discussion with yourself about, am I really getting enough options, enough diversification, enough exposure if my money's still in the 401k where it used to be?
There's a lot out there, and especially as you get into your 50s and 60s, so we're talking to you getting ready for retirement, there might be some more options out there if you took more of this into your own control. And one of the things that you can do to do that is take your retirement into control and give Jay a call. At Secure Financial Management, our number is 210-985-6200. And when you call, we'll ask you a few questions. We'll ask you, what have you done to save for retirement? And when could we sit down and talk to you about that? And what are you bringing to the table in your retirement? What is it? You have a portfolio of investments? Do you have 401ks? You have a pension that's coming? Maybe all of the above. But what's it going to do for you? What's it going to be per month for you? You run your life right now on your paycheck. You got to do the same thing in retirement. What's your retirement paycheck look like? Let's find out that number for you. 210-985-6200 is our number, 210-985-6200, or give us a look on our website, which is retire210.com, retire210.com. Well, this is a kind of a combination of a bunch of stuff that we've talked about earlier. In the month of January, we're all thinking about taxes now. We're getting our tax documents all ready to go so we can sit down one weekend, probably right before April 15th, and do our taxes. Well, it gets different when you get into retirement and when you get ready for retirement. Right now, you might be thinking, have I maxed out my 401k? Have I done everything in my IRA? Am I doing everything to help me next year? Well, let's look beyond next year. Jay, what are the things that people can do? Say they're still working. They're 3 to 5 years before retirement. What are the things that they could be considering to help them in retirement? Now we're looking 10, 15, 20 years down the line.
Yeah, and there's several things you can do before you're retiring to try and make that retirement transition easier and have a higher probability of success with it as well, okay? So hopefully we've got substantial retirement savings built up by this point, okay? If you don't, get on that one pretty quick because you're behind the ball, frankly, and you've lost the most important element that we have with investing, and it's time, okay? So hopefully we've got that maxed out. Hopefully we have Roth contributions as well, most 401ks now will allow you to do Roth contributions. So it doesn't have to be all or none. You can still do some pre-tax and you could do some Roth as well. We really like to have Roth contributions for a couple things. This is where we find most people use their Roth money. There's lots of different theories about what you should do. Hey, you should never touch your Roth money. You should just let it grow as long as possible. Yeah, I mean, that's something you can do. We have a lot of clients that they'll retire and there's something big that they want to do when they retire, right? They want to buy an RV and travel around the country. They want to do a big home remodel, whatever it is, right? There's something that if we take a large distribution from their 401k, from the pre-tax, it's really going to jump them up in the tax brackets, right? Well, can we strategically use our Roth IRA to make those larger purchases, right? So, it's not a requirement to retire to have this substantial Roth balance, but it gives you more flexibility, right? And it helps a lot.
These are the kind of conversations that you can have and I think are vital, 3 to 5 years before your retirement.
Right.
Maybe it's just to say, hey, you've got an option here for a Roth 401k. You've been doing a traditional. Let's just change that. You've got enough in this 401k. Let's move that over to Roth. I mean, that could really, really help your retirement. And those are the kind of things that come up with our Get Me to Retirement 5-step process. If you go to us online, you'll find it at retire210.com, and you can find out more about that, retire210.com, or just bypass that, give us a call. 210-985-6200. Let's get a date on the calendar and talk through it. 210-985-6200. Okay, if you're doing this yourself, and there's plenty of information out there for you to do your financial planning yourself, people will come in, as Jay has said, and said, am I doing this right? Well, here are the 5 things that most people will miss if they do their own retirement planning. Number 1, they will underestimate the impact of inflation. Number 2, they will underestimate how long they're going to live. Number 3, they will underestimate the cost of health care. Number 4, they will overestimate what their retirement income will be. And number 5, they will overestimate what their investment returns will be. All right, let's take these one at a time here, Jay. All right, do you have anybody who comes in who is doing it themselves who is thinking about inflation? Do they really think about that?
More so than they used to.
Okay.
Right. More so than they used to. And I think that's just because we went through a fairly strong inflationary period recently. So that kind of like shook some people up. And the problem with inflation is that most of the time, so we all saw stuff go up a lot in 2022, 2023. Most of the time, inflation is like a slow creep, right? Instead of like going to the store one day and eggs are $2 and the next day they're $6, they go to $2.20 and they go to $2.40 and they go to $3, and then usually that's how it happens, right? Yep. So it's not as noticeable, and so often it hasn't been looked at. And look, most people while they're working, I don't know if you're this way, but like a lot of people that we have that come in that are considering working with us or they are working with us, they're not making $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year, but they're making comfortable salaries, right? It's a couple working, they're making comfortable salaries. And they just don't have to think about buying something, right? Yeah. Just if I want it, I'm going to get it, right? Yep. There's enough disposable income, right? So because you've been conditioned that way for a long time, it's, oh yeah, inflation, whatever, like you don't really notice it. Once you transition to retirement, you're going to notice it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's that time when you go to McDonald's and pick up 4 meals and it's $35 and I just spent $35 at McDonald's. I can't believe it. It does creep up on you.
That's, we had the family over the other day. And so I said to my wife, I was like, let's just order some pizzas. And I can't remember the last time I ordered pizzas. It must be years ago. And so I was like, yeah, I'll take care of it. Pizza Hut, over $80 for 4. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? And so I'm like, I was like, well, I'll go to Domino's instead. They know better.
Yeah, right? 75.
It's wild.
Yep. All right, next one on the list. People underestimate how long they're going to live. And my wife is the queen of this. Oh, I'm not going to live to 85. I'm not going to be around. Maybe you will, dear. You just never know. And I'll bet people, why are you planning for me to live to 95, Jay? That doesn't make any sense. But what if you do, right?
Yeah, I think one of the scariest things that could happen to you is you get to 85, whatever, let's say. And it's like, hey, sorry, like you only had enough money to live till 84. And this is the thing is it's better to know when you're 60 that you need to work another 3, 4, 5 years to make your retirement work than to retire, get to 85 and realize that you needed to work another 3, 4, 5 years. Because when you're 60, you might want to retire, but if you have to work a few more years, probably you can, right? Probably you have the capability to. At 85, it's much more likely that you don't.
Right.
And you know, the best real life example I have of this is I've got a couple that are my clients, a lovely couple. They're party animals. And so like we'll have client happy hours and they never miss one. I'm glad to see them there. And I'm not saying anything that they're not aware of, right? They don't really take care of themselves. Like they're more interested in just, hey, I'm going to eat what I want. I'm going to smoke. I'm going to drink. I'm just going to live my life, right?
All right.
And when we were doing the planning, you know, you mentioned 95. I don't know if we've talked about it before. That's actually what we plan out to.
Okay.
Hey, look, it's very unlikely that you're getting to 95. I wish everybody the best luck. It's unlikely you're getting there. I am aware of that. But if we can make a plan work to 95, it's a really solid plan, right? So which we like. And the husband and the wife, both of them, that have said to me, it's like, no, like we're aware we're not in great shape, right? Like we're not being delusional. You know, it's fine. Like just plan us out to 75. And this was 15 years ago, right? And they were both around about 55 when they retired. And like, look, they're the boss, right? I work for them, right? I'm just like, okay, like that's not my recommendation, but if this is what you want, like that's what I will do. Well, they're still alive, right?
Lot of life.
Both of them are still alive. And so the last meeting that we had, they're just like, hey, how's this plan going? Because we're starting to get to that age where you know, we're getting close to that age we planned for. I was like, hey, look, we deliberately underestimate returns. We deliberately overestimate inflation because we want to have a solid plan. I said, hey, we've got a bit more wiggle room here, right? You can live past 75. But it was interesting to see it come full circle from somebody who's like, no, just plan out to 75. We'll see how it goes. And the concern that they had as they started approaching that age of, hey, did we underplan here?
We're going through our list today of the things that do-it-yourselfers usually miss. Number one is they don't figure out inflation. Number two, they don't figure how long they're going to live. They underestimate that. And number three is they underestimate the cost of health care. So once we get on Medicare, that's fantastic. Medicare is wonderful, but you have to take a part in this. And there are things that Medicare doesn't cover. And there's some costs in health care. And I think every year we do the Fidelity study, and they say for a couple, through their 20-year retirement, it's going to be about $300,000, something like that you're going to have to dip into your own wallet to go get. And a lot of people underestimate that, don't they?
Yeah, and look, even if you're in fantastic health, like you have to be aware of what are the expenses going to be. Medicare is not free, right? Everyone, like there's different parts to it. There's Part A, there's Part B. It's a confusing topic. That's actually why we have a full-time Medicare specialist in the office here, because so many of our clients are getting to that age and they say, hey, I've looked into this Medicare thing. I can't figure it out. I was like, hey, don't try and figure it out. Come and speak to Frank. He's our Medicare expert.
Right.
And we'll help you out to save you a lot of time. But yeah, there's Part A, there's Part B, there's Part C, all this stuff. We won't go into it. But part of it you've got to pay for. So you've got a Part B premium you've got to pay for. I don't even know how much that is now. Maybe it's up to $150.
I think it's $175 now.
Yeah. I'd believe it. Maybe it's up to, it seems to go up more than inflation every year. So say 175, you would want to think twice about not having some sort of extra coverage on top of Medicare, because if all you do is pay that Part B, you're on the hook for 20%. Right? They'll cover 80%. You're on the hook for 20. So you probably want a supplement, right? Which will help cover some of that cost. Look, that's another couple $100 a month as well. Then you've got a Part D, and Part D is usually aren't that expensive, but $30 or $40. You know, you're not far off $500 a month by the time you start adding
per person.
And if it's a couple, so what's that, $1,000, $12,000 a year? Yeah, look, $12,000 a year, you have a 20-year retirement. Hopefully it's more, but
there's that
that's
number.
$240,000. And then we haven't even gotten into anything else.
Yeah, long-term care is not figured into this. That's over and on top of everything else there.
That's right.
So these are things that people just don't think about. Okay, let's hit the last two and kind of take them together here. The things that people don't do right or they forget about when they're planning their own retirement. Number one here is what your retirement income will be. They overestimate what their investments are going to give them. And then, again, overestimating your investment returns. So let's talk about income and growth.
Yeah, so overestimating the growth in the account is going to give you a wildly inaccurate number of what your potential retirement would look like, right? One of the stories I shared with you a while ago was someone who came in and is kind of a do-it-yourself sort of guy, but he wasn't really sure that he was doing it, so he wanted, kind of a second opinion. And I didn't do a full financial plan for him because I said, hey, look, you're going to do this yourself. You're not going to be a client, but you're already here. Let's chat for a little while and see if I can help you. And he showed me the plan, and just having done these plans for decades and doing thousands of them, I guess by now, you have a bit of a feel kind of, hey, how old is this person? How much money do they have to work with? How much income are they trying to generate, etc. And you can have a feel for, yeah, this is probably in the realm of reality, or there's just no way this is going to work. You've got to go back and do the hard work, right, to get to the really refined plan, but you get a bit of an idea at a high level. And I was looking at this guy's plan. I was just like, man, something doesn't seem right to this. I just don't know how you're getting this to work. And finally, I said to him, hey, what investment return are you assuming that you'll get? And he said, oh, well, 15%. I'm going to get 15% every year that I'm retired. I was like, well, look, man, I can make a plan look really good too. I could use 20% and it'd look even better.
Right. How
realistic that is another question. So that can give you a false sense of security, I think, if you go over the top with what you're assuming you'll get in returns. I always think it's way better to assume that your returns are not going to be that great. And then, hey, we've got a bit more extra money, right? Things turn out good, and we've got a little bit more leverage there than worrying every single day what the market's doing if my plan's going to fall apart because of that, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned income, how much they're going to spend. This is what I talk to people about when we do our plan, okay? I say at the end of it, let's just say everything looks great. It's like, hey, yep, look, you're ready to retire. This is kind of the income you can expect to generate. It meets your needs, etc. I always say to them, this is not an exclusive list, but there are 3 big things here that are going to blow this plan up. It's successful the way it is, but these are the 3 things that are going to blow this up. Firstly, and the most important one, is if you have not given me an accurate number for what you're going to need in retirement, this isn't going to work, right? So if we're working on $5,000 a month, and look, if we're working on $5,000 a month and there's like, oh, I actually needed $5,100, okay, we've got enough margin there to mess around with that. If you come back and it's like, I was way off, I need $7,000, this doesn't work.
Right.
This has blown up. We don't have the stability that we needed. Getting a good estimate, and I always encourage people, I was like, look, every number you get, round it up, make it higher, right? You think you spend $250 on groceries right now, make it $300. Your phone bill's $100, make it $150, make it $200. Keep going up so you've got that buffer there, because a lot of the things in the plan, you can kind of pivot for them, right? Like can we get a bit more aggressive and, we should get a higher return over time? If you have the ability to accept that risk, like maybe that's something that we can discuss. There's other things that you can kind of pull levers on. The thing that you can't is that if we're spending more money than we were planning for, we just can't recover from that.
We need to have some accurate numbers, and sometimes just sitting down, you start to discover, oh my gosh, I thought I was spending $7,000 a month. I guess I'm spending $85,000. And that's something that you should know right now, but it's certainly something that you should know in retirement. Let's get those numbers for you. That's what it is to sit down with Jay and his team and go through the Get Me to Retirement 5-step process. We'll go through that process for you at no charge. We'll just get to know you. We'll review what you want to do in retirement, take a look at what you've done for retirement, put those numbers together. If we find some gaps, let's try to fill them. Whatever questions you have about your retirement, let's get them answered. Give us a call. Give us a look on our website, 210-985-62 6200. 210-985-6200 or our website, retire210.com. Retire210.com. Go to the bottom of the page there. There's a form fill there. You can fill in just a little bit of information, and then our team will reach out to you, and we'll get a date on a calendar. And if you've enjoyed this podcast and you want to hear more, hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. And again, thanks for listening to the Clear Skies Retirement Podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jamin J. Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.